Tom, aka Gedio, here for Star Frontiers Gamer. And today we're going to be doing a new player primer. Now, this is designed to be get you up and running if you're just not familiar with Star Frontiers. You're a new player to it, and this will introduce you to the high points of the Star Frontier setting and its history. Now, all of this material, well, most of this material was published quite a long time ago in the Frontier Explorer fan magazine, and I'll put a link in the show notes. Back then, it was published as a 2 pages, printed front and back on one sheet of paper, so you could hand it out to a new player. They could read it. However, we know how that goes when you're handing out a lot of handouts to players. They don't read them. So this video is designed to just be like a podcast you could play in your car while you're driving. I mean, don't watch the video while driving. You don't really need to watch it. I will be flashing some artwork that fits the theme of the paragraph that I'm reading. But this is designed to be something you can listen to and get the high points of Frontier history in a very quick and digestible manner. And it's all packaged to be succinct so that you can grasp it easily. You can still print out the handout from that Frontier Explorer issue. And that might be a handy thing to do, especially if the player's going to, 3-hole punch it and stick it in the notebook for his character, along with all the other notes and maps that you hand out along the way. So let's get into it. A quick note: there are major points of history that will not be covered, and these are typically things that happen later in the timeline, like the Mechnon uprising. So I won't be going into that. The Volturnus campaign will not be discussed, just in case you're playing that. Second Sathar War is ignored. These are later timeline items, and there's a possibility you might just be playing that portion of history. So it's just to get you up and running with early Frontier history. Now, all of this material is kind of synthesized and condensed from the Alpha Dawn book, some from the modules, and some from Zebulon's Guide. And I try to package it in a very sensible, easy-to-use manner. So let's get into the origins of the Frontier. In a spiral galaxy, a species of humans, like humans on Earth, evolved and entered the Frontier to colonize the planets there. Once in the area known as the Frontier, they met a species of sapient bug-like beings called the Rusk, who had discovered a species of blob-like shapeshifters called the Drolocytes. The 3 species lived amicably for a span of time before a warlike species called the Azarians entered and settled the whole quadrant of the Frontier in an Exodus-like event. Despite the warlike tendencies of the Azarians, peace prevailed for the most part, and the 4 species traded and had commerce and cultural exchange amongst themselves. Now, I would interject here that the Frontier setting, canonically, is very much in a galaxy far, far away. However, this idea that humans would evolve in the Milky Way and then some other galaxy never really set well with me. I just thought this duplicate evolution to be, silly. Plus, I like the existence of Earth in my setting. It's not canonical, but for myself, I go with humanity is separated from Earth. There was some sort of an accident thing that happened. There were a colony expedition coming to the Frontier, and they are separated from Earth by hundreds, if not thousands, of light years, and nobody knows how to get back to Earth. I like being able to say things like, this Yazarian was the Napoleon of the Yazarian clan wars. I like, and those kinds of statements don't, or this Rusk is the Shakespeare of the modern Frontier. He's writing poetry, he's writing plays. Those statements make more sense if Earth exists in the setting. It's not 100% required. I just like it that way. So that's how I roll. I then furthermore establish the Versk homeworld as the Framatar Turladron system and planet. And so that was their homeworld, and they evolved there, and they discovered the Drolocytes and then brought them to their homeworld. And so the Drolocytes have colonized Groth, the second inhabitable planet of that system. And then they also are a major colonizer on the home world of the Versk. And that's how I handle that. And it kind of solves some of this issue that the homeworlds were never detailed in Star Frontiers. Humanity's homeworld is lost to them. The Yazarian homeworld was destroyed when a brown dwarf, a wandering brown dwarf, entered the system. They had plenty of forewarning, and so the Yazarians had a star exodus that led them to the frontier, and then they just colonized 4 star systems all at once in one little corner of the frontier. The Free World Rebellion. Through a quirk of timing, Matterly's star was discovered by humanity, but the inhabitable planet, Kidikik, was colonized by the Versk first, then humanity second. Over time, resentment on the part of humans led to the Free World Rebellion, where the human population evicted the Versk, who ran the colony, and the human-only colony would eventually be known for its exportation of elite mercenaries in the frontier later in the timeline. Birth of the megacorps. During this time, one company rose to be the first megacorp within with a frontier-wide business, the Pangalactic Corporation, also known as PGC, which had showrooms everywhere, making its brand ubiquitous. It further cemented its place in the frontier by leading the charge to establish universal standards of trade and communication. That gave the frontier the Galactic Standard Time, the Interstellar Credit of Monetary Exchange, also known as the Credit, and an interstellar trade language known as Pangal. All of these things were accepted frontier-wide due to the influence of Pangalactic and its brand. In the early frontier, the Pangalactic Corporation was the only megacorp that many other megacorps sought to emulate. The forging of the Federation. 2 events led to the development of the United Planetary Federation. Both involved a common muster. A pirate known as Hatzik Nar went on a grand commerce raid of numerous planets, starting at the Dramune system and ending at the Timian system. Piracy had been on the rise, but the planets of the frontier finally agreed to call a common muster of all the armed starships to put down the pirates. Captain Morgaine was named the leader of this muster, and eventually he stopped Hatzik Nar at the Timian system, and the common muster was disbanded. Note, again, until there's a second common muster, the first common muster is just called the common muster. Now, this name Hatzik, Hatzk, to my eyes, it sounded a little bit like a Vrusk name. So I hand waved that this pirate was a Vrusk, and that Nar, N-A-A-R, was the name of the trade house, and this was the trade house that was evicted from Kidikik in the Matterly star system. And Hatzik Nar is the CEO of that conglomerate / trade house. He took the remains of his assets, of his company, and he embarked on a campaign of piracy out of revenge for what happened to his people and his company. And so that is how I just tie together these different points of frontier history. Later, a mysterious 5th sapient race called the Sathar invaded and began devastating planet after planet without any attempt to communicate. And thus a second common muster was called, and Admiral Morgaine was tapped to command. His force of will and tactical genius saved the day, and he defeated 2 Sathar fleets in detail, and both fleets were equal to his own, and in the end, he lost his life defending the frontier. His sacrifice sent the Sathar into retreat and led to the renaming of a lightly populated world in his honor. So in the Prengular system, the final battle that Morgaine takes place with, as the Sathar are coming in to devastate Gran Quivira, which is where the heart and soul of the frontier is, with the and the headquarters of Pan Galactic Corporation. He stopped them near Morgaine's world, and they renamed this inhabitable world in his honor for his sacrifice defending the frontier. The worlds of the frontier realized that they were going to need a central government to organize the common defense and perhaps rein in the power of the megacorps. Thus, the United Planetary Federation was born in the aftermath of the First Sathar War. The UPF is organized into a Council of Worlds and various civil service organizations like Star Law and the Medical Services Organization, as well as 2 military arms known as Space Fleet and Ground Fleet. Now note, it is canon that the central government, the UPF, is nothing more than a treaty organization, kind of like NATO. To me, this doesn't make a lot of sense. So I generally just treat the UPF as an actual federation. But statements in the canon rules make it that it's kind of just a treaty organization and not really like a federal government. But I go ahead and just go, look, it's a federal government. It's collecting money. It's building warships. It's organized a police force called Star Law. It's doing all these things. It's a government, and it might as well have government powers. And we know that that part of this government's the Council of Worlds. So I just go ahead and treat it as a federal type government with a centralized control. Otherwise, if it's just a treaty organization, the little tidbit we're going to get to about Star Law being able to commandeer any starship in the pursuit of a Sathar agent or interstellar criminal doesn't make any sense, because a Clarion flag ship could be like, yeah, so, and blow off the Star Law marshals. So since we're talking about Star Law, in the aftermath of the Sathar War, it was discovered that the Sathar were employing agents and turncoats to subvert the UPF, to disrupt commerce, and to terrorize the citizens of the frontier. Star Law was formed with interstellar police powers to pursue and apprehend these agents. Later, Star Law's mandate was expanded to include interstellar criminals. Its marshals are highly trained and capable, and they may commandeer any starship in the pursuit of a criminal or a Sathar agent. It should be important to note that the basic mandate for Star Law is that they do not interfere in a planet's, agents, or organs of law enforcement, that they are specifically present to hunt down Sathar agents who are unknown. They're in hiding. They're like Soviet Russian agents hiding within American society, that kind of an idea. And they are a deterrent to pirates and interstellar criminals, although mostly Space Fleet will handle the pirates. But this is Star Law's mandate. They do not get into policing speed limits, that kind of thing on the planets. They do have offices on the planets, but they're very much like a federal police force with a very specialized task. Space Fleet and Ground Fleet. Born in the conflict of the First Sathar War, these organizations protect the UPF against the threat of military conquest from the Sathar. And they were needed because even though Admiral Morgaine had defeated the Southar in space, they had landed numerous troops on multiple planets, namely Pale and Lako. Space Fleet is known for its highly trained officers, but the enlisted ranks are recruited from the dregs of the spaceways. Despite this, there has never been a mutiny on a Space Fleet vessel. Ground Fleet, because there's decades between the first and second Southar War, Ground Fleet is a small cadre of officers maintaining depots of hardware and training cadres for the next war, where the organization will swell its ranks again and engage Southar ground troops anywhere in the frontier. After the Southar War, you get the Age of Exploration. This is when Star-Lord's being organized, Ground Fleet, Space Fleet, they're being organized, new fleets of ships are being built. And during this time, you have new megacorps are on the rise to challenge PGC's place of dominance, and the peoples of the frontier will send out numerous ships to explore the space around them. Ostensibly, part of that might be motivated by the Southar War. Numerous ships were lost, probing the depths of the nebulae that surround the frontier. But this is the Age of Exploration, and a lot of adventure is set in this period of time. During this period of time, you also get the Blue Plague. During the Age of Exploration, a plague that affected all 4 sapient species struck the frontier. The Medical Services Organization eventually discovered a cure, but the plague kills millions and dislocates populations across the frontier. To this day, conspiracy theories abound surrounding its origin, whether it was from the Southar or some bug that escaped a super secret lab. One theory holds that it was a bug that managed to hop a ride on a ship coming back from the Sundown and Star Mist planet and star system. The truth may never be known. I like to treat it as one of those mysteries that's bound to have conspiracy theories surrounding it in my setting. Now, note, Zebulon's Guide, when it introduced this idea of the Blue Plague, said that there were 5 star systems that were so contaminated with the plague, they were put under quarantine, and Space Fleet had orders to destroy any vessel trying to lift off from planets in those systems. This idea has never made sense to me, because those planets were colonized from the other planets. And if your Aunt Jenny is on one of these quarantine planets and you love your Aunt Jenny, then it's highly likely you're going to just go, let me buy some, let's buy up some of that vaccine and get a fast ship and go to the plague planet. And we're going to rescue Aunt Jenny. This is stupid. We want our Aunt Jenny back. And so it made no sense that they would just quarantine planets and write off millions. When they have a vaccine, you just make more of the vaccine and ship it in and vaccinate everybody. So for my setting, the plague planets have been debated ad nauseum. I just rule them out of the setting. They don't exist. None of this stuff about we're quarantining a system and we're going to destroy any ships that take off. I understand what the author of Zebs was trying to do, because he was taking Star Frontiers in a Gamma World direction. I get what he was trying to do. I get rid of the plague systems. Forget that. Now, towards the end of the Age of Exploration, some of these rival megacorps are beginning to reach a size where they can challenge PGC, or Pan-Galactic Corporation's, dominance of frontier society. And this results in corporate conflict, and it was almost inevitable. The first corporate war was Lako's War between Streel and PGC, and it lasted 10 years, and it caused hundreds of thousands of casualties and destroyed dozens of starships in orbit. Another famous conflict involved Streel and the Cassadine Development Corporation. And the events of this conflict are seen in the Mission to Alcazar module. Now, I just want to point out that a war that goes on for 10 years and has hundreds of thousands of casualties just seems a bit much, especially when we get into the next point where we see the UPF actually steps in and gets involved in what's going on in the next point. Why wouldn't the UPF step in and get involved and tell these megacorps, hey, knock it off. Too many people are being killed here. So I just hand wave. The casualties are smaller. And that brings us to the Dramune Wars. The Dramune Wars were interplanetary conflicts within the Dramune system. Dramune system has 2 inhabitable planets. That is Inner Reach and Outer Reach. Now, Inner Reach is colonized by Drolocytes. Outer Reach is ruled by crime lords. The most famous crime lord is this guy pictured on the screen next to me, the Malthar, a supermassive, obese Drolocyte who is clearly inspired by Jabba the Hutt. So we got a little Jabba the Hutt vibe going here with this guy, and I love that. And so there were 3 Dramune Wars that we know of, and one of those wars is the events in the Dramune Run module. And it's for this reason because the UPF had Space Fleet vessels intervening in the conflict that was going on in the Dramune system at that time. So it makes no sense to me that the UPF would not try to settle Lako's War. And so I tend to treat Lako's War as kind of this slow burn for 10 years. And then right towards the end, it really picked up. And finally, the UPF stepped in and said, all right, we're going to negotiate a settlement between you two. And I have ideas about that settlement, but this is a new player primer, so we don't have to go deep in the weeds. But so the Dramune Wars are a thing. They may not, all of them may not have happened in the setting when you're playing it. Certainly, if there's a chance you're going to play the Dramune Run module, then you will participate. Your character will participate in one of the Dramune War conflicts. Although that's the shortest one where Space Fleet stepped in and kind of sorted out some stuff. So that is the basics and the high points of Frontier history for the new player. Get you running and up to speed. And so you might have a adventure background where, it might reference a corporate war like Lako's War, or it might reference the Free World Rebellion. And now you know what those things are. You got a rough idea of what those things are and how they all relate together within the basic history primer of the Frontier. So this is Tom for Star Frontiers Gamer, and I want to thank you for watching the video. Thank you to my subscribers. You guys are great, and I will see you in the Frontier.